Wow, we are at 10:59 PM. Can you believe that? We are so early tonight. Yay! Okay, so we gotta celebrate. Um, this is July 29th, 2026, and we are at 2,187 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room because he was a whistleblower and taken downstairs to the arms room in building 2479 on Fort Bliss, where his life was taken from him and the evidence was, with no expense spared, an illegal order by um, Major General Eisenhower was given to renovate the room, destroying evidence. That's where Richard's life was lost and his body was stolen, and and he was taken over to Mexico for disposal. Why did they go to so much trouble? Richard was the whistleblower. But he wasn't just any whistleblower, right? Because he was the distinguished um, uh, honorary graduate, uh, number one in basic training, number one in advanced individual training. He three AAM awards in 14 months. He made rank very quickly before his peers. Uh, he was a stellar soldier. He scored very high. He spoke 2 languages and even some Korean. He was black belt, wanted to be CID, played the piano. So he was a very reliable source. You see, he was a very reliable witness. He was a very reliable whistleblower. And so this is uh, this was a problem for the cartels that had infiltrated onto Fort Bliss, that were trafficking everything, including children and guns and drugs and fuel and everything, and also involved in the orchestration of the Walmart mass shooting that targeted President Trump. So this was very political and it was treasonous because it was U.S. military involved in the targeting of President Trump, the commander in chief at the time. And so they had a big problem. The criminals had a big problem. They had a very reliable, uh, super reliable stellar soldier, whistleblower, that was wanting to be CID. So he was very keen, documented, and was willing to file the criminal activity. So much so that the IG were all over the barracks because of Halliday. There were audits. Audits all over Fort Bliss, over the barracks, and and more. And of course, the Child Protective Service, the FBI, the 911 calls, the Washington, um, IG, a CID, which is a criminal investigative division, all had Richards file his complaints. So he, of course, reported, and those reports were blocked. Okay, because there is uh, in Richard's case, I don't know about other cases, but in Richard's case, all right, um, there was a common denominator: mortuary operators, funeral home operators, and a Mormon mafia. Okay, a Mormon mafia. Very, that's what the evidence shows. If anyone is offended, um, don't be, because this is not the first time with that, because it is documented, and I didn't make up the word Mormon mafia. Um, that is documented in court cases. It's been a real problem. So we have learned. And so they targeted Richard. Like I said, his reports were blocked. And so he decided to request um, a transfer. He requested transfers, multiple transfers. We know that personally. And those transfers were denied. Um, he was targeted by his leadership, and his platoon leader, Dallas Hart, ordered a code red killing of Richard. Okay. How do we know this? Because evidence confirms that this happened. Dallas Hart's own mother even corroborated that this was a code red in writing. So, so this is why this has been such a cover up. This is why, because the chain of command ordered it. Okay, ordered the killing of Richard, the whistleblower. His body was taken because Group of Purchase and the funeral home fraud there in El Paso have contracts, a whole history of contracts with El Paso mortuary affairs and operations. And this is how this was possible, to steal his body and take it across the border to Mexico. So after, we've been investigating for 6 years, and of course we have uncovered that the Walmart mass shooting was orchestrated, explained the Michael Mayella family to us, that is family with Patrick Crucius, the alleged shooter in the Walmart mass shooting, that has positions in the government there, in the federal courthouse, in the DA's office, in the Walmart mass shooting, in the Walmart cybersecurity division, also in the FBI, and still working in the FBI. So this is a really dirty, very dirty government area, very compromised, that has compromised our military there at Fort Bliss, compromised the border. This is a national security emergency. This is a national security problem that is so big that, we have to go on day in and day out to expose this national security breach and emergency, because it has allowed the cartel to infiltrate. And I would say transnational operatives, transnational operatives, because of the Mormon Mafia element of this, with its long history in the colonies there in Chihuahua, Mexico, right across the border. You would know the Romneys, the Mitt Romney family. You would know the Wettons. These are all families that have been there for over 100 years plus. And they are very established with the cartels, with the cartel activities, the tunnels, the fuel theft, the all of the child trafficking, weapons trafficking, drug trafficking. And they have infiltrated into the intelligence agencies. They have compromised themselves um, in the government of Chihuahua, Mexico, because it's just the border region on both sides, that that is a narco state that has seeped into the United States. So we have documented this and filed it. uh, identified individuals and crimes and places and everything. And so this is very well sourced, with a lot of receipts, as you would call it, receipts and evidence behind it, that corroborate, that absolutely confirm everything that we're saying. So today was, well, we were made aware of the arrest of the pilot that flew the plane, whichever plane that was, because they're not straight with us with the plane, are they? They're not being straight with us with the plane. They're trying to play, maybe a shell game with the plane. Is it this plane? Is it this plane? Oh, you see this plane here? See this plane here? And this. And I believe that they're from our investigation, if you don't know what I'm talking about, in 2024 there was an illegal operation, a unsanctioned operation called Operation King. What is it? King Air, right? Air Kings, Operation Air King. Sorry, I'm doing all this by memory. And so there was this unsanctioned operation called Operation Air Kings that was ordered by a rogue and Mormon mafia, um, transnational operative, Connell Wetton. And you will see his name in the news because he is a dirty FBI agent there in the El Paso field office. And he ordered this unsanctioned, illegal operation to kidnap El Mayo, uh, one of the leaders of the founding leader, one of the founding leaders of the Sinaloa Cartel, the terroristic organization. And so they sent planes because our investigation is not just one plane. Um, there seems to be multiple planes involved in this operation because it says Air Kings, right? It doesn't say Air King, Operation Air King. No, it says Operation Air Kings, meaning the type of planes that they used. The Beechcraft, right? The Beechcraft Air Kings. Um, King Airs. Yeah, that's why I get Beechcraft King Airs for Operation Air Kings. And one of these pilots, right, the one that flew El Mayo, admitted to shooting and ended up killing a politician, a Mexican politician, during this kidnapping, which corroborates El Mayo's story. Okay, because there's been multiple stories, and this arrest and plea deal from this pilot that admitted to killing. His name is Quinn, right? A Mexican politician, Quinn. Hector, I think it's Hector Quinn. Um, and it corroborates what El Mayo's account of the kidnapping was all about. Now, um, I'm sure President Trump is getting, because he was extradited to the United States, and this has come out. Now, the part that the media is not telling you about is his name, right? And Nunez, right? Let me look up his name. I know his middle name is Mauro Alberto Núñez Ojeda. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but um, very, very interesting. Make sure. Here it is. I put it up. Oh, gosh. Yes. Mauro Alberto Núñez Ojeda, right? El Jando or El Jondo. Um, so he was Guzman's pilot and of the Chapitos, which is El Chapo. Okay, so El Chapos were part of the kidnapping operation of El Mayo, which is two of the El Chapo and El Mayo are the two founding um, cartel leaders of the Sinaloa Cartel. And they wanted to get rid of El Mayo. What did El Mayo not want? What were they arguing about? Would be very interesting because we do have accounts that this was a way to take over El Mayo's territory. So, yeah, okay, so what the media is not telling you about this pilot is that he's from Clovis, New Mexico. So, and I know about Cannon Air Force Base. Is there, like, I think there's is that what it's called, Air Force Base? Or, I know about it because my dad used to have to go there all the time. Um, because of course I was born at White Sands Missile Range. My dad was ADA. So when I saw Clovis, I knew that it was just north of Fort Bliss, not too far away from the north call out of White Sands Missile Range, because Zorro Ranch is on the north call out of White Sands Missile Range. Okay, Zorro Ranch was owned by Jeffrey Epstein, and this seems to be the hub. In 2019 seems to be the real hub, or real uh, introduction to a lot of things was in 2019. Anyway, um, so this pilot is from Clovis, New Mexico, and he sells jerky, right? He sells jerky. He also has, I guess, some SNAP benefits, and he has some connections there. And Clovis is not, just not just some place, little town. Clovis is important because um, it is the trains, the fuel, right? The fuel and the farming, and it's a huge intersection of when you're doing some kind of trafficking um, operation, you would want to be in Clovis, okay? You'd want to have some people in Clovis. So that's why this is all very important. He's not just some person that lives in Mexico. He is absolutely a resident of the United States. So, of course, he made the plea deal. He was transferred or extradited to legally, not a kidnapping like what they did, like what Connell Wetton did with his unsanctioned Operation Air Kings. So that is the huge, huge news today. Thank you so much, Dora, for coming on, and Anicia for coming on. I did it early, Anicia. I came on earlier. I know that is so wonderful. Thank you for your prayers. And um, yeah, it's just really important that we have this because what it indicates is that the FGR now, from other reports, is continuing to investigate the illegal, unsanctioned kidnapping of El Mayo. And this is a disclaimer. We are not saying that El Mayo is a good guy. We're not saying that. He is absolutely, a Sinaloa cartel leader. But if they can kidnap El Mayo, they can kidnap anybody. and they have to respect the sovereignty of Mexico and the sovereignty of the United States and abide by the laws that they expect us to abide by, right? But they don't want to abide by them. And for an FBI, rogue FBI agent to order the kidnapping of El Mayo outside the uh, the law, right? What is legal, to do it unsanctioned with, and he knows better, right? He absolutely is trained and knows better. Absolutely shows that his loyalty is not with the United States and his loyalty is not with Mexico because of course his father was born there in the Mormon colonies. Um, and he might have been too. He might have been too. They have a long, long history with the Romneys, with De La Vega Matthews, um, who is Federico De La Vega. He is the father of Alejandro De La Vega. Um, you know, their history, they've been doing this for decades, building this trafficking up for decades, and for Connell Wetton to be there, and his duty is to get the cartels, right? Arrest the cartels, stop the cartels. And yet, what he's doing is leaking Richard's identity to the cartel. So, meaning, to Dallas Hart. So that tells you that Dallas Hart is cartel, right? Cartel tied, cartel. And yeah, for him to leak identities of our whistleblower, Judge Roger Rodriguez, also to the cartel, um, so that they can retaliate, so that they can prepare to kill somebody, to silence somebody, and then to actually order a code red, like they did in Richard's case. That tells you that Connell Wetton absolutely needs to be arrested, right? And that he is absolutely capable of this unsanctioned kidnapping of El Mayo. And yeah, so this is a very big deal because it connects the fuel to this pilot, the whole trafficking pipeline to this pilot, because of course he was arrested for cocaine, I think cocaine possession. Um, and, so it's confirmed because he admitted it, and then now to murder. Um, which of course when you order an operation like Connell Wetton, he also is should be held responsible for murder, because he worked together with this pilot, right? He worked together, this confirmed cartel that Connell Wetton worked with, to kidnap El Mayo. So everything about this is cartel. If it was sanctioned, it would be different planes, not privately owned planes that lead back to De La Vega, right? It wouldn't be those planes, right? It would be, uh, you know, uh, government or other planes, not private planes. Um, and the whole operation wouldn't involve a pilot that was cartel, right? That was from Clovis, New Mexico, that was arrested for uh, trafficking, right? That wouldn't happen. It's kind of like, any kind of operation where you're extracting, uh, a terrorist. This is not that. This is not that. This is an unsanctioned kidnapping of El Mayo, and everything around it confirms that. And so that's why this is such a big deal. Of course, his proximity to Zorro Ranch, um, his other connections that we haven't um, had time yet to really, um, you know, get the full gist of what's happening, are very suspicious to all the other trafficking, the child trafficking, that especially female trafficking that Jeffrey Epstein was doing. Um, Linking all this together, right? Linking all this together, but the fuel and with what happened to Richard, the leaking um, of Richard's identity is totally connected to this pilot because Connell Wetton worked with him to do this, right? So it's just kind of mind-blowing sometimes, but this is how cartels operate. They have their fingers in everything, and they're fuel thieves, and they're traffickers, and they're murderers, and they're deceivers in the media, and they are infiltrators, and they're transnational operatives, and that's how they operate, and that's what you know, that's the real war that we have, right? The real challenge that we have is to hold these individuals accountable because they have infiltrated into our system. And so you have a lot of people blocking reports, like they blocked Richard's report. They blocked his report. He wanted a transfer. They denied him a transfer, and then they ordered a code red. So that's huge breaking news. And then this whole jerky thing, I don't even want. I connected it on the Facebook. Please go read that. It is really terrible if he's in the business of that. I think it's just his jerky business is, a front, a shell company. We'll see. We'll see. The other thing we wanted to bring uh, to attention after this whole funeral fraud in Houston. And I will tell you this, there seems to be a connection between this pilot and Houston also. Um, but this funeral fraud of this trans with the buckets, the Home Depot bucket full of human organs and 48, what seems to be cremated. I'm not going to believe it until the investigation confirms it. And then I'll have to say, well, who did the investigation, right? I mean, that's just where we're at right now. We have to question everything to make sure that we get accurate information. Um, but this person that was involved in this forged paperwork. Okay, forged paperwork, and also um, forged identity. Right, was an impersonator. And so this operation that is in the Hart family. Um, and I wanted to bring that up again as IDES Pablo, Dallas Hart's father, was accused right away of forging, right away after Richard's Code Red, of forging um, veterans information and stealing their social security numbers and for personal gain. And there's all kinds of other um, allegations there in that, and because he was in the El Paso Fort Bliss VA's office, and we have other evidence that indicates they did try to cash in on insurance for Richard, being that there were imposters that pretended to be our family, to collect on Richard. And so this is all coming out, and this funeral fraud is all about tampering with government documents, forging documents, stealing identities, impersonating individuals, a lot of fraud and everything. And so this corroborates the evidence that we have because it also connects the same group of people. It's the same group of people. And so this is their playbook, right? This is their playbook. So we wanted to repost the letter from Leilani Hart that she submitted on October 16th, or wrote October 16th, 2020. We think that is very, very important. And that was 10 days before Nadal Baim. She probably really freaked out when we figured out who Nadal Baim was, the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado, the G3 of the 32nd AgCom, that witnessed that Richard was dead before they ever told us, and that his remains were trafficked to Mexico. So that is huge. Let me see what she has to say. She has a lot to say here, and it's in Spanish, and I'm going to have to translate it. The whole the case Rosa Maria Corone de Arellano. hmm So I will absolutely, let's see if I can do it right now. If I can um, translate that right now. I don't know if I can. Let's see, because I really want to know and answer that online. She spent all this time to write it. Let's see if I can translate it. And if it is good information, I will absolutely, if it's not illegal to say it. Okay, so it's translating it for me. So I just want to thank everyone for coming on and leaving comments and the support. And please share. I'm going to take this opportunity while it's translating to say that. Please share, share, share. Okay, so it's translated. An open letter to Rosa Maria Corone, the widow of Ariana. You urge her to turn her son, Jose Luis Arellano Corone, over to justice. Yeah, he's a fugitive. He's a bad guy. Very well, they're all bad. They're all very bad. Do not prolong any further this moment that could bring a breath of relief and genuine peace to more than 1,600 families who today suffer because of what your son did. And don't forget, it was her. She owns that property too. And also Rafael Ariano Corone of Argo Oil and Gas. He owns that property too. Okay. This was a family owned business. And that is not really being told in the media, but that is confirmed. Do not inflict more pain with your complicit silence. Allow the suffering of the families. So that's why, if you don't get an answer from her, because it will implicate her too. She's on the run too. To have some form of closure, even if limited. He is not innocent. He's charged for a service he did not provide. He's not, they were advertising. Rafael Ariano Corone advertised a dignified funeral service that involved cremation, and they were giving families urns full of fake ashes. Okay, be it cement dust, be it animal dust. They were giving um, fake ashes to the families and charging them, and then letting the bodies rot. Over 400 bodies were found rotting in rat infested, no air conditioned, no potable water. It was sacrilege, absolutely sacrilege, and a sin against God. The human body's made in God's image, and what they did is it's really bad. It's really bad. Um, and the most painful part is that you knew about it and protected him, and so did Mauro Campos, and so did Mauro Campos's mother. Don't forget that too, because they allowed that place to operate without license, without permits, without being inspected, without the water, without the air condition. They're part of this. This was a narco crematorium, and of course, evidence indicates that our son's body was there. And group of purchase is the one that got the body. So the very group of purchase, transnational funeral home business, narco business, um, is the ones that, because they're really located in their home base is Ciudad Juarez. They received the bodies. So the very ones that sent the bodies to the crematorium are the ones that are holding the evidence. So the criminal is holding the evidence. Okay, just saying, just saying. um, Not with protective maternal silence, but with silence of complicity. 390 bodies found. It's over 400 because there were skeletons found. And his crematorium are irrefutable proof of the magnitude of the harm. Do not close your eyes to justice or to the pain of the families. I just think that Maru Campos needs to order her Fiscalia and her police to go and, um, you know, um, stand on the border and demand the extradition of this family. Somehow, some way, there needs to be an extradition of this family. And, you know, um, I would like the American government, the United States government, to um, arrest them. You know, they're a terroristic organization, and I have to really control because I want to just scream out what I really want. But what I really need to want, and it has to be done without the emotions, is the arrest of these people and the accountability. And then in the United States and Texas, if they're arrested, there's a death penalty. That's why I prefer that rather than in Mexico. So, but I understand 1,600 families want their arrest. And so maybe Jose Luis can go to Mexico, and Rosa Maria and Rafael, and let's say his ex-wife too. And there's so many others that are involved in this. Oh, and don't forget Eugenia Galvan, right? The mother of Maru Campos. Um, she needs to be arrested too for this. And the I think the inspector, because they were pouring that water, all that fluid down into Juarez water. They were polluting the Juarez water with 400 bodies of fluid, and everything, formaldehyde, all that stuff. It's just a horrible crimes against humanity, really. Crimes against humanity. But I'm very glad to read that. And you're being very, very kind because, um, yeah, they absolutely have committed crimes against humanity and against God, really. It's just so bad. So, Okay, everyone, thank you so much for coming on, and um, we really appreciate you sharing. And I'm so glad I came on a little bit earlier. That was so great. So I will be back tomorrow, God willing, and please